guys, welcome to my channel Parenting Diaries with Preeti, and this is a week 2 video in which we'll be talking about various fine motor activities that your child could do at home. Now this is part of a series in which we'll be releasing 4 videos with lots and lots of activities, about 10 activities per video, which should be a total of 40 activities that you could do with your child sitting at home. And the best part about all these activities that we are outlining in these videos, all the activities are done using resources that are easily available in any Indian household. So bye-bye to all those expensive activity kits that are available on internet, and say hello to some really good fine motor skill and fine motor muscle exercises, because this is something that we really have to develop, not only to make our little children independent but also to enrich their academic skills in the space of writing, reading and maths. I've done a detailed video on this. Subscribe to the channel and you would get regular notifications on such kind of videos as and when I release. So as for now, let's get going with the second week video and see what all interesting activities are there that I've suggested for you. Now in week 2, we have some really fine activities outlined for you. Now on day 1, I'm suggesting a motor pestle activity. Now this is what I have here. It's a wooden motor pestle. Now wooden motor pestle is relatively lighter for kids to maneuver, and also it's relatively safer than the stone and the steel ones. So I would suggest that you take a wooden motor pestle and then now ask your child to pound a biscuit into a fine powder. Now when the child pounds the biscuit into a fine powder, now this action, as you will see, is strengthening the hand, the finger, and this action of pounding the biscuit is also an excellent eye-hand coordination exercise. Now if your child is big enough to pound this biscuit into a fine powder, now the next media that you can take is a chana. Now chana is relatively harder than a biscuit, now which would require the child to exert more pressure. And when the child is able to pound chana into fine pieces, you can take this activity to the next difficulty level and take almonds for crushing. Now obviously you all know that almonds require a much greater force on part of the child to pound them into fine powder. Very good exercise for strengthening their eye-hand coordination. Now this is something that you can do with the child on day 1, and the media that you use, either a biscuit or a chana or an almond, would strictly depend upon the age of the child. Now the other activity that I'm suggesting on day 1 is toothpick punching activity. Now in toothpick punching activity, what you are required to take is a piece of paper, a sponge, or a utensil scrubber that again you will find in any Indian household, and a sharp toothpick or a skewer or a thin wooden stick, which this is something that I have taken, which is the rear end of an agarbatti that you have in any household. Now what you are required to do is take this paper and draw a design. Any design, it could be a letter, numeral, I have drawn a flower, you could make a sun. Now put this paper on the sponge, or if you don't have the sponge, you can take this particular scrubber that I have taken. Now put this shape like this here. Now ask your child to punch the outline. Punch the outline like this. Now the kind of noise this activity makes is exciting for the child, and it's a very good activity for eye-hand coordination and even concentration. If you don't want to take something as sharp as this toothpick and the skewer, as I have already told you, this is the rear end of an agarbatti that you can take, and now ask your child to punch. Now this is as far as day 1 goes, on which we have suggested a motor pestle activity to you and a toothpick punching activity. Now on day 2, we are suggesting dough play. Now the dough that I am wanting you to use with your child is the regular atta that we use in the kitchen. Children find it very exciting to use the same dough that their mama uses in the kitchen, although there are n number of variety of doughs available in the market. This dough is non-toxic, it is safe for children to use. Now how I want you to encourage your children to play with this dough is that you should encourage your child to make snakes like these. Now this activity of making snakes, as you can see, is using their fingers very effectively. You can even encourage them to make balls out of it, like this. Now when you make snakes out of these Play-Doh, you can actually convert this activity into a literacy and a numeracy activity. Now in this, what I am wanting you to do is take a piece of paper and write some letter on it or a numeral on it. Let us say A, or let us say 2, like this. Now the snakes that the child has made, you can ask the child to maneuver the dough in such a way so as to place it on the outline of the letter. Now you can see that I am doing it very easily, but for a child it's a little bit more difficult because they have to coordinate their movements so that the dough rests on the outline of the letter. Similarly, for letter 2 also, numeral 2 also, this can be done. And you can give them many more shape outlines, you can give them many more numerals, you can give them many more letters on which they can rest this Play-Doh. Now this activity turns out to be a fine motor muscle activity. Along with it, you can even reinforce the letter recognition and the numeral recognition. Okay, so this is as far as day 2 goes. This was the first activity on day 2. Now the other activity on day 2 is that of paper cutting. Now for paper cutting, as I've already told you that we would be using scissors quite often to exercise fine motor muscles of the child. So in this week, take a piece of paper and draw a fine pattern. It could be a zigzag, it could be a wave, or it could be a straight line. Now ask the child to take a scissor. Now the scissor that you should give the child should be a child safe scissor. Now these scissors are easily available in the market for ₹50. I would suggest that you buy and keep it. Now taking these scissors, you can encourage your child to cut on the pattern. Now cutting is a very fine activity for improving the concentration skills of the child, along with excellent eye-hand coordination and finger muscles. For younger children, it will take some time to get comfortable with the grasp of the scissor as well. Once the grasp is done, then you can give them many more patterns to cut on, and this can be done once or twice a week. Now on day 3, we have something very interesting outlined for you. We have a mashing banana activity in which what we need is a banana, a plastic fork and a bowl. Now in this, what you have to do is just peel the banana and have the child mash this banana into a fine paste. Now when the child exerts the pressure on the banana to mash it, it leads to an immense strengthening of the muscles. If the child is small, I would suggest that you make finer pieces of the banana and then ask him to mash it. But if the child is big enough, let's say 4 or 5 years of age, then 2 to 3 pieces of the banana can be made, and then the child can be encouraged to mash it into a fine paste. You can further add fine biscuit powder that you pounded on day 1 and make a great pudding for the child to eat. So this is the activity. Now the next activity that we are suggesting on this is something that children in our school used to find very exciting, which is that of peeling peas. Now in this peeling pea activity, as you would see, the pincher muscles of the children are getting excellently involved and exercised. So show the child how to peel the pea and then just let them be and have lots and lots of fun peeling these pods out of the peas. Now we have lots of younger kids in the school spending a lot of time doing this activity because they feel that this is an activity that's going to help their mama in the kitchen. So this gives them a sense of purpose, and obviously any activity which involves use of natural ingredients is giving your child a different sensory experience altogether. Now on day 4, we have scarf in the bottle activity. Now in this activity, we take a bottle like this. Now this is a bottle that is available in any Indian household, and you take a scarf Now ask your child to shove this scarf into the bottle. If the child is young, you can take a bottle which is slightly wider in neck, but if the child is older, you could take a narrower bottle which would involve as much more skill in putting the scarf in the bottle. And when the child is pushing the scarf, a lot of pressure and force is being exerted by the fingers, which further enhances the muscle strength of the fingers. Now the other activity that we are suggesting on day 4 is scooping the rubber band. Now here I have taken a bowl of water with rubber bands on it. Now give your child again a plastic fork and ask them to scoop this rubber band out of the bowl. You can even play a quantification game by telling them, why don't you scoop off 2 rubber bands? Why don't you scoop off 3 rubber bands? This is an activity which will further improve your child's eye-hand coordination. Day 5, first activity that I am suggesting is finger paint on the name. Now you take a paper and write your name on the paper. Take a bowl of paint and ask the child to dip the finger and dab on the letters of the name. Now this activity not only involves finger muscles of the child, but it reinforces the letter recognition of the child as well. Now the other activity of day 5 is an interesting activity of stick tape. Now in this, I would want you to make this arrangement on the table. I would want you to take some candies and put stick tapes on these candies. Now encourage your child to peel these stick tapes from the table and get these candies as a reward. Now this action of peeling the stick tape from the table is using their pincer grip, which is the muscle that we want them to exercise. It's a fine activity which is very interesting for the child because it gives them a reward at the end. I hope you guys liked all the activities that I've suggested for the week. They're very simple but very useful. We have many more such activities coming up in week 3 and week 4. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that to get the notification of rest of the activities coming your way. Please share this video with your friend. I need all your support in spreading the word among the young parents around. Thank you and bye-bye and see you next time.